Țările din Caucazul de Sud sunt nevoite să-și croiască destinul în raport cu statele mai mari care le înconjoară, Rusia, Turcia și Iran. Armenia și Azerbaidjan își dispută în continuare regiunea Nagorno-Karabah. Vestea bună este că cei doi lideri, premierul armean și președintele azer, au început o serie de discuții. Ambele țări se uită cu mare atenție la războiul Rusiei din Ucraina, la alegerile din Turcia de săptămâna viitoare și la Iran, care este ba prieten, ba dușman. Peste toate, se simte prezența tot mai puternică a Chinei. Alexander Iskandarian este fondatorul Institutului Caucaz de la Erevan. Discutăm împreună despre transformarea unei zone de care este foarte interesată și Uniunea Europeană. Sunt Cristina Cileacu. Începe Pașaport Diplomatic. Professor Alexander Iskandarian, founder of the Caucasus Institute, welcome to Diplomatic Passport.
Thank you.
Professor, the leaders of Armenia and Azerbaijan were meeting recently in Brussels, and that shows some sort of trying to improve relationship with the help of European Union. Do you think such an accord can be actually reached in the situation right now?
You know, I'm not very positive about that. You used trying. They try. It was Washington meeting, it was Moscow meeting, it was Brussels meeting, Prague meeting is going to be meeting in Chisinau, etc. So this is a process. And they try to do possible signing a paper. A paper, I mean some agreement on agreement, so to show the way to recognize each other. So Armenia recognized Azerbaijan, Azerbaijan recognized Armenia in their borders, which are a result of collapse of Soviet Union, borders of former Armenian Soviet Socialist Republic and Azerbaijani Soviet Socialist Republic. First, I don't think that even this is very possible, signing a paper, because you know, the peace agreement is just an expression. And by this expression, the devil is in details, and you have a lot of details there. And Azerbaijan's view on this process and Armenians' view on this process and European or American or Russian are very, 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 very different. So I'm afraid that it wouldn't be ever very possible. Even if I'm mistaken, even if they will come to conclusion and sign something, I unfortunately don't think that this something will change situation on the ground, because now Azerbaijan use negotiations and shootings at the same time. It is strategy, it's not tactics. They try to push on Armenians with both ways or more ways. More sure, because one of these ways is blockade of Nagorno-Karabah, people living in Nagorno-Karabah as well. So this is strategy, I repeat, and I'm afraid that they will continue. And from this situation to go out, it is possible, but I don't think that it is possible just because they will sign some paper together in Brussels or wherever.
Elsewhere, yeah. Your relationship with the Azeris will or can determine further the non-existent relationship so far of Armenia with Turkey. The Turks are showing some signs that they want to improve relationship with Armenia. What's your country saying?
I've been in Turkey just recently, after earthquake already and before elections. I talked to people, colleagues, academicians, academics, journalists, etc., but with officials as well. I can see that situation can change a bit. what we were talking about, that after elections might be opening of border. You know that border between Armenia and Turkey is closed from Turkish side. Opening of border for third nationals, for people who are nationals of not Turkey and Armenia but third countries, and maybe for people with diplomatic passports. How many people with diplomatic passports will we have in Armenia, and how many people from third nationals who want to go to eastern Turkey, to these regions of Turkey? I don't know, 100, 200, 500. It is not very, you cannot call it real step. As for real steps, you have problems, and the name of problems is Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan is not just foreign player in Turkey. Azerbaijani lobbying is part of domestic Turkish policy. Azerbaijan is part of investments in Turkey with oil money, of financing some things, for example, electoral company of Mr. Erdogan. Personal relationships between Azerbaijan and Turkish leaders are very good, as we can say. A lot of things. So what Turks usually say to us is not their demands. It is about demands of Azerbaijan. Sometimes it looks like paranoia. You don't have Azerbaijan from Baku from one side and Ankara from other side. You have two Bakus. That is Turkish strategy. It's not policy of Erdogan. It's policy of Turkey. Is it going to change? Maybe somehow, but in any case, after elections, Turkey will continue their negotiations with Armenians, about Armenians with Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan is part of this process. This is a problem. But slowly some changes you can expect, and hope that we will see it.
Well, Turkey is going through a second round of elections soon. It doesn't matter if Kılıçdaroğlu or Erdogan will win the election. If one of those two remain or comes to power, change in the relationship with Armenia?
I don't think that changes are possible. But I don't think that changes are possible because of persons. Because of personalities of Mr. Kılıçdaroğlu or Mr. Erdogan, or even political parties. Because, first, opposition of Turkey is very heterogeneous. You have so different forces inside the Turkish coalition that some of them are very, very nationalist, some of them Islamistic, some of them Kurds, some Kemalists, etc. So to produce common vision of problems of Turkey, even if they would be elected, or Mr. Kılıçdaroğlu, they will need time. It will not be very easy. I don't think that it will impact on foreign policy of Turkey immediately. But what I can see as a positive thing, Turkey after elections would need money. A lot of money. Situation there was not good. Economic situation, I mean, was not good before earthquake. Now it's nightmare. And they spend money on elections. And after elections, they will need support. They will need money. And this amount of money, or you can say that this doesn't exist in the world, or you can say that you should go to Washington. It doesn't mean that money will be from Washington, but to have such amount of money from Qatar or from somebody, you need to go to Washington. Now from Washington you can listen that they are not going to work with Erdogan. I don't think that it is serious. When and if he will be elected, they wouldn't have a choice. You will work with whom?
Well, Washington, the State Department, at least in the first round of elections, they said that they will work with whomever is the new president.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then, but they maybe can help, but they will talk about Turkish policy around Turkey. Sure, Armenian question or Armenian problem is not on the first, second or third position. You have a lot of problems with Kurds, with Syria, with Cyprus, with Iraq, with a lot. But it can affect to Turkish policy to normalize its, at least to begin a process of normalizing its relationships with neighbors, Armenia included. In principle, it is possible.
Talking about neighbors, your neighbors, Iran and Azerbaijan, seems to have a much cold relationship because Azeris want to open an embassy in Israel. Will this affect in anyhow Armenia?
It is. You know, relationships of Azerbaijan and Iran never, I mean, after the collapse of Soviet Union, never were good, really good. They have problems with, both countries have problems with each other. In Azerbaijan, sometimes you can listen rhetoric which in Iran is just out of everything. They feel it as anti-Iranian. You have problems, a lot of problems they have in their politics. And sure, Azerbaijani relations with Israel is red flag for Iranians. I wouldn't say that this can bring to real confrontation, for example, hot confrontation. No, it's not like that. But orientation on Turkey, orientation on Israel from Azerbaijan is something they cannot be happy with that in Iran. So it's constantly, it's like that. Yes, now it is not the best period of their relationships. Iranians opened a consulate in Kapan town in Armenia, which is in very south of Armenia, near the border of Iran with Armenia, and said several times that this border for them is extremely important and they are against changes in the South Caucasus, etc. So it is a result of these relationships as well, and I'm afraid the situation will be more or less like it is now. But I don't afraid. I don't think that it can develop to something really worse.
China is more and more interested in Caucasus area, and especially since Russia keep on losing in the war in Ukraine, the Chinese interest becomes even more visible, let's say, because it was present before the war started by Russia. How will this change the region?
If you ask me about Caucasus, about my country and neighboring countries, it is visible. They are quite active, but I would say that they are active everywhere around them. This is a process of moving China or Chinese determination from regional power psychology to global power psychology.
Yeah, but that was an area under Russian influence.
Yes, that's right. And they are coming to this area because it is geopolitically close. It is closer to them. But Chinese politics usually, you know, they have different time paradigms. It's not about next year or 5 years or next 10 years. Yeah. It's about next 200 or 300 years. You can see it. You can see soft power. In Erevan already, if I'm not mistaken, you have 2 schools with Chinese language, with Chinese teachers, with support of Chinese. You have this Confucius organization, cultural institution. You have, you can say economy, but I wouldn't say that really they can be a player in region tomorrow. They will, but this is process which is going on and can bring to the results, but in their perspective after 300 years or something.
You mentioned earlier Chișinău. It will be on the 1st of June, a summit of the political leaders of Europe, but also your Prime Minister and the President of Azerbaijan will come to this summit. What shall we expect?
We shall expect meeting, we shall expect talking, we shall expect close talking. They would try, or at least Armenian Prime Minister would try to produce common ground, the field for negotiations, which is not easy. I would like it to be mistaken, but I'm afraid that I don't think that they will sign something there, but at least the process to talk to each other, the meetings as it is are useful, I would say. To communicate is better than non-communicate. Unfortunately, Azerbaijan compare talkings with shootings at the borders with the Republic of Armenia and with the Nagorno-Karabah Republic, both. And I'm afraid this will continue, but maybe it will be a little step to try to not resolve, but at least conform to change conflict, to transform it from using of military tools on the ground to table of negotiations. If it will be a step to that, it will be positive.
The final question is about Russia, because Armenia is in a different relationship with Russia. It cannot be part of the countries that can afford to turn their back to Russia. Your Prime Minister was close to Putin even on the 9th of May so-called parade. How will it end? Not when. How will it end in your view?
It is true not just for Armenia, it's true for all Caucasus countries. In 2008 in Georgia, in 2020 in Nagorno-Karabakh, we South Caucasians understood it very good that nobody is going to come to our region to protect us or to help us seriously. I mean, just regional powers. Regional powers, I mean Turkey and Russia. And this politics is very clear, logical, I would say, understandable. South Caucasus, by its configuration, is three approximately small countries surrounded by three global, not global, regional, but big countries: Russia, Turkey, and Iran. So you need to deal with them, which is extremely hard now. Armenia tries to work, they call it complementarism, I would call it nightmare, by the way, but you need to communicate with Russians and with Europeans, with Americans, with Iranians at the same time. You need to do it. Physical surviving of people living in Nagorno-Karabakh is approximately about 120,000 people, which is a lot for Armenian nation, because all population of Armenia is 3 million. Physical surviving of them provided now not by Armenians but by Russians. Russian peacekeepers are there. So you need to have at least normal relationships with Russians. It is not easy because usually Russians think and say to us that you guys are too pro-Western. In the West, you usually listen that you guys are more pro-Russians. So you are in between. It's a rule of the game. If you will do not do that, it could be humanitarian catastrophe. How it will, you ask me, how it will end? It depends on result of Ukrainian war. Just that.
On the Russian war in Ukraine.
Russian war in Ukraine, war in Ukraine, Ukrainian war, doesn't matter, even they call it by some reasons special operation. What is special in that, I don't know, but doesn't matter. It depends on war there. I'm not sure that it will end soon. You have impact on the whole post-Soviet space. You have more and more anti-Russian, Russia, I mean regime, I don't mean people, sure, in every post-Soviet country. In Georgia, in Ukraine, clear, in Baltic states, but in Belarus, in Azerbaijan, in Armenia, in Central Asia, you have, even in Russia, you have people who don't like to live in such kind of regime, and some of them are now in Erevan, in my city, and they call themselves relocants and came to Armenia, Georgia, etc. It depends on this conflict, on this war.
Professor Iskandarian, thank you so much for this interview.
Thank you very much.
Atât pentru astăzi, dar rămânem în continuare online pe pagina de Facebook a emisiunii și pe contul nostru de Twitter. Revenim cu subiecte noi din lumea diplomației și a politicii externe, vinerea viitoare de la 11:30 și reluare sâmbăta după miezul nopții. La revedere!